Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the place you come to get the core insights from complex sources fast.
Yep, we do the heavy lifting so you don't have to.
And today, we've got a really unique stack. It's part spiritual memoir, part deep Christian mysticism, and part, well, pretty intense practical advice.
It's quite a mix, and our goal here is to pull out a kind of framework from it all, something for, serious spiritual development.
And maybe even tackle that feeling of a psychic split a lot of people feel in modern faith.
Exactly. But this framework, it wasn't born in a library. It came out of a real crisis. We really have to start with the author's own story. It sets the whole stage.
Definitely. So picture this, 1994, Southern Missouri. Deep evangelical background.
King James only, that kind of environment.
Right. And he describes it as pretty toxic.
Yeah.
Intolerant. And he even mentions sermons being used in his home to justify domestic violence. Really rough stuff.
So naturally he rebels, completely walks away from faith.
Which leads him down a pretty dark road. Alcoholism, drops out of a PhD program, just feeling fundamentally lost.
Utterly sick at his core is how he puts it. And there's that sense of being torn away, unrooted. He uses that French word.
Déraciné.
Déraciné, exactly.
Yeah.
Torn from the roots, not just from his old faith, but from any sense of real meaning.
And this all comes crashing down spectacularly.
Yeah, rock bottom hits hard. He's in Nice, France, working a night shift, drunk.
Slips on marble stairs.
Yeah.
A spiral staircase. Ouch.
Big time. Ends up with a seizure, a bad concussion, and lands in a mental hospital in Antibes on French disability.
Wow. So that's the starting point. That's the desert this whole thing grows out of.
Pretty much. He had nowhere else to go. And that's where the book's core question really forms. How do we diagnose this déraciné feeling in the modern world?
And find a solution not in, the latest trends, but way back in these ancient, often forgotten Christian practices.
His diagnosis of current evangelical Protestantism is pretty harsh.
He doesn't pull any punches.
Yeah.
Calls it barely recognizable as part of the church.
Yeah, points to a lack of real contemplative life. Empty rituals, intolerance, projecting its own inner sickness outwards.
The salt, losing its savor, as the saying goes. That lack of inner life, that contemplation, seems key to this psychic split.
It really is. When faith becomes just about, ticking doctrinal boxes or following external rules, the soul kind of dries up.
So the suggestion is we need to look way back.
Yeah.
Before the Reformation, even before the church structure we recognize today.
Which takes us to the 1st and 2nd centuries, and things were messy back then.
Messy is an understatement, right? Not one unified church.
Not at all. It was incredibly diverse. You had loads of conflicting accounts, Gospels of Judas, Mary Magdalene, things like that.
To different groups with wildly different ideas about Jesus.
Totally. Some thought he wasn't born divine, maybe became divine later. Others, maybe divine but not fully human. Some weren't even that focused on the resurrection.
It's kind of mind-blowing that it took almost 400 years.
Longer than the U.S. has existed.
Yeah. For the Catholic Church to even agree on which books made it into the New Testament.
It was a long process, lots of debate, theological wrestling, figuring out which texts fit the structure they were building. But it shows you Christianity started with all these different people seeking God directly.
That direct experience. That's mysticism, isn't it? Let's just define that quickly.
Sure. Mysticism basically is the belief that you can experience God directly and the practice of trying to do that, often aiming for some kind of union.
Like theosis in the Eastern Orthodox Church. Becoming like God.
Exactly. Theosis, deification. But the author stresses this stuff didn't just pop out of Greek philosophy.
No, he traces it straight back to Jewish roots. Merkava mysticism, throne mysticism.
Right. Focused on these visionary journeys, ascents to God's throne room. It's fascinating the author had this vision, saw only the back of God on a golden sphere.
And only later realized that lines up perfectly with this Merkava tradition,
Right.
where the back of God is linked to God's glory.
Or in Christian terms, Christ's mercy, which connects to a really key theological point from guys like Justin Martyr and Origen, the difference between God's essence and his energies.
Okay, essence versus energies. Sounds a bit academic. How do we make that simple for, someone listening?
Okay, think of it like the sun. God's essence is the sun itself, infinite, unknowable, uncreated, totally beyond us.
Gotcha. Can't stare right at it.
Exactly. But his energies are like the sun's light and heat radiating out. They're God's actions, his grace. They're created, knowable. We can experience those.
We connect with the light, the warmth, not the impossible core.
Precisely. We know God noetically, that means intuitively, directly, through contemplation by engaging with his energies.
Okay, so that's how direct experience is possible without, claiming to grasp the infinite. That makes sense. It bridges us into those inner traditions he talks about.
And some of those are pretty surprising, like the idea of transmigration of souls, Gilgal.
Wait, reincarnation in early Christianity.
Seriously? Well, yeah. Figures like Clement, Origen, they seem to think salvation might be a process, maybe taking more than one lifetime for the soul to get fully purified.
Why did that disappear then?
Augustine, mostly. He pushed back hard, felt it put too much burden on people, complicated the idea of a single judgment. He famously asked, who can accept or suffer them to be spoken? Basically, it was too radical.
Wow. That connects to the author's vision of heaven and hell, too, doesn't it? Not places, but cycles.
Yeah. Two turning wheels encircling each other, releasing and refining souls unto eternity. Like getting stuck in loops, repeating the same mistakes, the same suffering, until you finally learn the lesson.
He even saw a dark reflection of that in Nietzsche's Eternal Return. The horror of living the exact same life over and over.
And breaking out of those cycles, that's the start of the real ascent. For him, it kicked off after some intense Zen meditation at Green Gulch Farm.
The Rainbow Awakening.
Right, a sudden heightening of being. Synchronicity went through the roof. He'd know who was about to walk around a corner, felt this deep connection, interbeing.
Sounds amazing, but also dangerous. You mentioned R.D. Laing's quote.
Yeah, the mystic and the schizophrenic swim in the same oceans, but one swims, the other drowns. It's a crucial warning. Meaning
Opening up that level of consciousness without support, without a structure or a guide, it's risky. Your mind starts running wild scenarios, delusions, trying to resolve deep stuff. You can get lost.
like walking a tightrope without a net. Delusion beyond delusion, he calls it.
Exactly. You need a teacher, a tradition, something to hold on to, which forced him to really grapple with the big difference between, say, Zen Buddhism and Christian mysticism.
Okay, let's break that down, the ontological difference.
So, from a Zen perspective, ultimately, nothing is independently real. Everything is empty, not self, just arising together. It's non-theistic.
Dichormanent soul, no creator God in the same sense.
Right. But Jewish and Christian mysticism leans towards panentheism.
Panentheism, okay. Simplify that one for us.
It means everything is in God, and God is in everything, but God is still more than the sum of everything. So individual souls are real, they exist indefinitely, even though they depend entirely on God.
So the key difference is, Buddhism is brilliant at dismantling the false self, but it doesn't end with an ultimate yes to being, a relationship with a loving ground of reality. The Jewish-Christian path insists the struggle, the purification, it's all for something, aiming towards that larger meaning, that relationship with God.
That's a huge distinction, and realizing that led him to the practical solution, the framework he received in Estonia, the Triune map.
Yes, this is the core structure. He received this insight near the Russian border. 3 paths: Father, Spirit, Son. They have to be held together in harmony.
Moving the soul from one stage to another.
Sort of. From power and judgment to harmony and authenticity, and finally, to love and self-sacrifice.
Let's take the first one. Path of the Father, judgment, power. What's the focus here?
Obedience, surrender. Think Abraham being asked to sacrifice Isaac, or Christ in Gethsemane saying, "Not my will, but yours." It's that radical submission.
Faith by virtue of the absurd, Kierkegaard called it.
Exactly. The discipline is submitting to a tradition, following its codes with real awareness, like meticulous Hasidic practices, where every little act matters. It provides structure.
But the danger is obvious, isn't it? Getting stuck in the rule.
Legalism, yeah. Ossification. And the deeper spiritual risk is toma willfulness. Basically, the sin of Satan, putting your own will above God's.
But if done right, this path leads to...
Catharsis. Purification. Getting the mind and body ready, cleaning the vessel.
Okay, then the path of the Spirit. Authenticity, harmony, awakening. This is where the Zen stuff fits in.
Perfectly. This path is about liberating the soul, connecting to those divine energies in everything. Meditation retreats, SEAL training for spiritual wannabes, he calls them, are crucial.
SEAL training, like Navy SEALs.
Yeah, that intense. Breaking down the false self. Practicing deep concentration, even in chaos, like the container environment exercise he describes. Learning to think non-thinking.
Just being present, watching thoughts without getting caught.
Pretty much. Catch and release for the mind. Interestingly, this spirit-focused view actually helps sort out that old filioque argument.
The 1,000-year debate. Quick version.
Okay, super quick. East said the Holy Spirit comes only from the Father. West said Father and Son. This view suggests the spirit is more fundamental. It undergirds all life and agency, including Father and Son. It proceeds from neither alone. It's the breath animating both.
So it dissolves the argument.
In a way, yeah. But awakening the spirit power, that brings us back to the danger zone.
Right. Heightened consciousness needs protection.
Desperately. This is where tradition becomes that essential container. He talks about when he left the structures, the monastery, the Christian community, things got weird. Spiritually intense.
You mean like a tax?
Yes. He describes this moment, feeling irritated at lunch, and suddenly a glass of water just flies off the table and shatters.
Whoa, like poltergeist stuff.
But linked directly to his state of mind. It showed him how powerful thoughts become when you're in that heightened state. They can literally affect physical reality. The laws of attraction become very real and potentially dangerous.
So the mind becomes incredibly potent for good or ill.
Exactly. And it led to some terrifying visions, too. He mentions Sekhmet, the Egyptian goddess, the mistress of dread, pure terror.
How did he handle that?
He says he was saved only by the sudden, unexpected appearance of Padre Pio, the Catholic saint, intervening. A moment of grace, of protection.
So the practical advice here is critical for anyone exploring this path.
Absolutely. Learn to test the spirits, like it says in 1 John. And crucially, operate from love, not fear. Real evil, he says, can't stand genuine love.
Which brings us perfectly to the final path. Section 4, the path of the Son. Love, mercy, completion.
This is it, the path of radical self-emptying, self-sacrifice. The focus shifts completely. It just fix your eyes upon Jesus. Unconditional love, becoming the perfect face of God, that of mercy.
But he needed that fall upwards to get here, right?
Wow. Yes. He realized all his spiritual scent, all the wisdom and power gained through the Father and Spirit paths. It was incomplete, imperfect divinization, he called it.
Meaning he had the insight, the power, but not enough love.
Exactly. He saw he was actually spiritually dangerous. Wisdom without equal compassion is a problem. He had to be broken, humbled, had to fall, but fall upwards into total surrender.
Into the path of the Son, the path of the heart.
Where the ultimate goal is theosis, becoming like Christ through total self-giving. Recognizing that even your highest, most realized self still falls short of God's perfect mercy.
And this isn't just internal. It leads to action in the world.
Right. He connects it to the early church model, communal living. He saw it lived out during his time visiting the Bruderhof community, shared resources, simple abundance.
So for you listening, the synthesis is key. The Trinity isn't just a doctrine. It's an inner reality achieved when these three paths work together.
Obedience and structure, Father, wisdom and awakening spirit, they only become perfect when infused with love and mercy, Son.
So we went from a man broken derriere in a French hospital
to a practical framework aiming for nothing less than sainthood.
It demands rigor, spirit, structure, Father, and absolute compassion, Son.
And the final provocation, the challenge left for you, isn't about hoarding spiritual experiences or powers.
No, it's about responsibility, as the author puts it. It is not the wealth that we possess, either spiritual or otherwise, but how we choose to use it.
That's the core question.
And the final word is one of encouragement, directly to you. Perfection, sainthood is possible. Now, in this life, you're called to it.
But the way in isn't through strength. It's the opposite. Come to Christ just as you are, broken with nothing more.
A powerful place to end. Failure isn't the disqualifier.
Often, it's the necessary doorway into that final path of the Son.